to the sideline and 7-time Pro Bowler Steve Tasker.
Kevin, in this day and age of social media, it's almost impossible to keep secrets in the National Football League, but Todd Bowles and the Jets coaching staff did an outstanding job. There were two separate reports this morning. Nobody knew who was going to start for them. One had Sam Darnold starting, one had Josh McCown starting, and Todd Bowles did this. Ostensibly, he said he wanted a tactical advantage. Now, Sam Darnold is inactive, so whatever tactical advantage he got from not telling anybody who was going to start, we're going to have to wait and see. But I got to tip my hat. It is hard to do in today's NFL with agents and players and social media to keep that secret. The Jets did it, and hats off to them.
Steve, thank you. Rich, does it really make that much a difference?
No. You know, we talked to defensive coordinator Dean Pease on Friday, and he said, hey, look, the plan's not going to change much regardless of who's at quarterback. If Sam Darnold were to start, maybe they would change up some looks a little bit on third down, but he didn't seem overly concerned with regards to who was going to play quarterback for the Jets.
Jason Myers is having a terrific season. In fact, as good a season as any kicker in pro football right now. He will set to kick off. The Jets won the toss. They have deferred. They'll take the second half kickoff. The Titans will receive, and deep back is former Jet Darius Jennings. The Jets have lost 5 in a row. 1-4 on the road. Their last road win opening weekend in Detroit. The Titans have lost 2 straight and 5 of 7. But the month of December keeps them home. And away we go in Nashville. They'll leave it in the end zone. Touchback to the 25. Where it'll be first down and 10. Well, Marcus Mariota, Rich, is playing some of his best football this season the past month.
Well, he was on fire last week. He hit on his first 19 passes last Monday night. 22 of 23, 304 yards and a pair of touchdowns. It was the second highest completion percentage in a game in NFL history. They need more of that today from Marcus Mariota.
A lot of football still ahead of Tennessee, and here they line up with the first down and 10 with the tight end Stocker on the move. Fake to Lewis, who offers the block. Coming in off the side was Adams. It's incomplete. It'll be second down and 10. Let's take a look at the offensive line. And Rich, on paper, it looks terrific. Pro Bowlers on both tackles, but they have really been struggling.
Well, they're coming off maybe their worst performance of the season on Monday night against Houston. They gave up 6 sacks, and as Taylor Lewan told us on Friday, it was embarrassing and unacceptable.
11 sacks given up by that line in the last 2 games alone. Second down and 10. There's Dion Lewis, the former Patriot, out to about the 30-yard line. Adams down there, gain of 5. Also a hit there on that line by Leonard Williams, who is part of the defensive front for the Jets, Rich.
Well, as a group, I think this unit has underperformed. There's no other way to say it. I mean, especially over the last 5 weeks, they're winless. They need better production from the front 7. You look at Jamal Adams, I think he's their best player, and it's not even close. He plays at a different speed week in and week out.
Oops, there's a move right there. Looked like Quentin Spain, the left guard. Jerome Boger.
Offense, number 67. 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
So Rich, 3rd and 5 now becomes 3rd and 10.
Well, they've got to play better, and I think it starts inside. You know, Kevin, you mentioned the 2 tackles, Conklin and Lewan. I think they're, in terms of a pair of tackles, maybe the best in football. But you look inside, I thought Klein really struggled last week, as did Spain. They have to play better on the interior of that offensive line.
3rd down 10. Heisman Trophy Marcus Mariota, crumbling pocket and taken down. Louvu gets him. Frankie Louvu. 2nd sack of the season. Undrafted out of Washington State, loss of 5. Here comes the punting unit for Tennessee.
Then they get him with a little stunt. You see the end will go down, and Louvu works around the outside. Mariota trying to step up, trust the protection, but again, the pass protection has been a huge issue for the Tennessee Titans. He's been sacked 31 times since week 5. That's the most in football.
Brett Kern to punt. Andre Roberts is back. He is the 2nd highest rated punt returner in pro football. Dancing on the side and forced out by Kendrick Lewis on a 4-yard return and a 44-yard punt by the former Falcon, Andre Roberts. This takes us to 39-year-old quarterback Josh McCown for the Jets.
Well, they started the week with neither quarterback healthy. And you look at Josh McCown. He injured his thumb last week late in the game in the loss to the Patriots. I mentioned Kevin, just 2-8 in his last 10 starts for the Jets. He's a wily, cagey veteran, but boy, they need more production from the quarterback position.
Your feel on Darnold, Rich? He's going to come back soon, huh?
I got this sense when we sat down with him last night, I think he's chomping at the bit to get back under center.
1st and 10 for Josh McCown. He goes outside here, Anunwa. Forced out of bounds across the way by Logan Ryan. It is a gain on the play of 7 and put him near the 46. Here's the offensive line. Long was the center, moves to guard. They have put Carpenter on IR. Harrison makes another start, Rich, at center.
They have to play well. They have to be able to control the line of scrimmage from a run game standpoint against a very good defensive front for the Titans.
With Elijah McGuire in the fake to him, 2nd down and 3, and here goes the pitch, and it goes outside to Trenton Cannon. He's a rookie out of Virginia State in a 6th-round pick, and he picks up 5. He's got a 1st down for the Jets down to the 49-yard line of Tennessee. The number 10 defense in pro football, that of Tennessee.
And they're pretty good against the run as well. You look at the strength of that group, it's certainly Jarrell Casey. I think the linebacking core much better against the run in terms of the pass coverage, a little bit of a liability in coverage. And of course, you look at the secondary, Byard doesn't quite have the production he did from a season ago.
Isaiah Crowell, 1st and 10. Byard, he just talked about him. Makes the stop, gain of 5, Rich inside the 45 of the Titans.
Well, you look at this offense, they need to get off to a start. They've really led for less than 3 minutes during their current 5-game losing streak. I think it's tough when you're constantly playing from behind, especially with a rookie quarterback who started 3 of those losses. And even with Josh McCown, they've got to find a way to start games better, especially on the road.
Nichols secondary, 2nd down and 5. McCown. He's got his man, Robbie Anderson. Forced out of bounds by Adoree Jackson with a gain of 8, moving downfield to the 36-yard line of Tennessee.
Well, the one thing you get with Josh McCown is you're going to get more volume. He's obviously a veteran quarterback. He can handle a ton of information. So I think you'll see a more complicated, a more intricate game plan. And the other thing about McCown, his anticipation has always been good, and accuracy from the pocket good when he's got a chance to set his feet.
1st and 10. It's Crowell outside with a beat on him as Morgan knocks him out of bounds. Flag has been thrown on the play at the 42-yard line, and no gain on that little pass play. It's going to be against the Jets.
Holding. Offense, number 72. 10-yard penalty. Replay, 1st down.
And that's starting right tackle Brandon Shell. He has started every game this season for New York.
Well, if they can't run the ball, they're going to struggle, especially with their current quarterback situation. You've got an aging veteran, and just both are dealing with some nagging injuries. We talked about Darnold not playing today, but neither has shown the ability to carry a team on their shoulders by throwing the football.
McGuire looking for a block. Winters offered one. He was spun around. Then he is held onto by Malcolm Butler. Elijah McGuire takes it down to the 38-yard line with a spinning gain of 7 for New York.
I like to see some of these attitude runs early in the game, and you look at McGuire spelling Isaiah Crowell, and they've got to find a way to lean on the running game. That, of course, helps set up the play action game, and that's an area where Josh McCown has always been effective.
Was your tape study kind of telling you that they were too pass heavy, Rich, when you take a look at the numbers and what your eyes are telling
Absolutely.
you?
I mean, they played, when you go back to the big win over Denver where Isaiah Crowell went off, Kevin, they have not run the ball effectively since then, and they've gotten away from the run a little bit too early in certain games.
Here's 2nd and 13, a block up there by the tight end Leggett, and he works into the grasp of the rookie out of Alabama, Rashaan Evans, on a gain of 3 down to the 36.
And you look at these numbers, and this kind of tells the story. You know, you look at the first 6 games, the last 5 games, the rush percentage, and of course the rushing yards a game, and that's just not going to work for this team. You look at their personnel on offense. They've got to be able to run the football. They've got a very talented back in Isaiah Crowell, but his production is down since week 5.
McGuire is in, Nichols secondary, and McCown faces 3rd and 10. Blocked by Beecham. Deep on the side and looking right there for Anderson with the coverage by the former #1 pick out of USC, Adoree Jackson. 4th and 10.
When we talk about distribution, and this is a problem. You watch the two routes running the crossing routes. Both receivers run essentially the same route. There's no spacing. Just look at there's no spacing. There's nowhere to throw the football if you're Josh McCown. So he just pushes this ball down the field. Kind of a last-minute decision to Robbie Anderson. But that's one of the things that's holding back this football team. The mental errors and the missed assignments early in games.
54-yard field goal try, wind aided. It's blowing about 10 to 12 miles an hour. Myers, who kicked one last week against New England from 55, gets it up and in. And the Jets score first.
Well, if you're Todd Bowles, you're happy to see the Jets get off to a good start. But again, the slow starts have been a problem for the Jets all season. They're the only team in the NFL without an opening drive touchdown this season. And we mentioned just 3 points on their opening drives prior to that one. And as I said, it's tough when you go on the road and you're having to play from behind. You need to keep the pressure on and the foot to the pedal.
So Jennings will go to a knee, leave the ball in the end zone. He has the #1 kickoff return average in the National Football League with a look at Marcus Mariota getting it for his 2nd time.
Well, I like to see the Titans throw the ball a bit more on 1st and 10 like you saw last week against the Houston Texans. I thought Mariota had great anticipation and accuracy. Obviously, he completed his first 19 passes, but when they're able to throw the football on the early downs, it certainly helps the running game.
Running back for the first time, the Heisman winner out of Alabama is Derrick Henry. 4 in the Jets secondary. It's 1st and 10. Stocker, the tight end, playing fullback right there. Wrapped up on the play by Jordan Jenkins. It is a gain of 2. He's to the 27.
Well, you look at both running backs. It's kind of difficult to figure out how they do it, Kevin. You look at Henry, who's leaving the field to put his shoe back on, and Dion Lewis. Lewis probably plays twice as many snaps. I think the reason why is he's more productive in the passing game, and I just think that he's more reliable. They feel more comfortable with him, and he has the ability certainly to make a player miss, whereas Henry's more downhill, more of a straight line running back.
Lewis led New England in rushing a season ago. 2nd down and 8. It is Lewis. He finds a gap. Holding on for dear life right there. Avery Williamson, the former Titan, gain of 4 to the 31.
Well, you look at the production. We talked about twice as many snaps, but this is concerning when you look at this. The 2nd highest percentage of rush attempts resulting in a loss, almost just under 20%, actually 18%. So he's got to be able to avoid the negative runs. I think when you look at Henry, the bigger back, 242 pounds, they've got to do a better job, I think, of utilizing him and getting him more touches early in games. It's tough when you're standing there on the sideline watching the other back get the touches.
3rd down and 4 for Marcus Mariota. It's picked off! Intercepted on the play by Tremaine Johnson. He's got Adams ahead inside the pylon. That's a Jets touchdown. And their first takeaway in 6 games. Mariota has thrown a pick 6.
Well, the first indicator is when you see number 33, Jamal Adams, down around the line of scrimmage, because he's going to be coming. And when he's coming, you know some type of zone pressure is on the back end. Tremaine Johnson read the eyes of Marcus Mariota the whole way. He just jumped that in cut.
Johnson gets his 2nd interception of the season, a 31-yard return. He's missed a lot of time this year, inactive for 5 weeks at one time. Myers will put it through, and with his 54-yard field goal before and the pick 6 by Johnson, it's 10-0 Jets taking it in. His first year with New York, he finds Pater.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the new Wendy's Bacon Maple Chicken Sandwich. Garmin. Get a Garmin smartwatch and beat yesterday. And by Verizon. The best unlimited is on Verizon, America's most awarded network.
Well, there's no doubt that Trumaine Johnson has had an up-and-down season, but he just had his 4th pick six in his career. 31-yard return, 10-0 Jets. And that'll energize you. He's missed time, Rich, with a quad injury this year. Missed 5 games. But he's playing today. That'll go in the end zone again. It'll be 1st and 10 from the 25 on the touchback.
Well, anytime you see 4 strong, but just keep an eye up the top of your screen. You look at Trumaine Johnson. He's covering Cameron Batson. He does a terrific job fighting through the traffic, and he just jumps this under route the entire way. He's got his eyes in the backfield. He recognizes the route and the concept, and that's just a terrific play by the veteran corner.
So Mariota, who began completing his first 19 passes Monday night down in Houston, has started today 0-2 with a pick six. Lewis in the backfield. It is a 1st and 10. Dumps it off to Lewis, looking for a Lewan block, which he got. And then Redwell picked up that time by Darren Lee. It's a loss of 4. It'll go back to the Titan 21.
Well, the Jets know exactly what they've got to do defensively. They've got to be able to stop the run, and that includes Marcus Mariota, and force the Titans to throw the football, make Marcus Mariota throw the football from the pocket. And that's going to be their best chance of winning. Force Mariota to function as a pocket passer.
Titans lost Monday night down in Houston, 34-17. Second of 2 divisional road losses on the road coming into today. 2nd down 14. They need the 35. Plenty of time. And he goes underneath to Corey Davis. Lee was there. Gain of 9 near the 30.
I really like Corey Davis. They just have to find ways to get him more touches. You look at the production from him, and he's clearly getting more comfortable. He's gotten better in his 2nd season.
Watch him on this one because he's number 5 in 3rd down receptions this season. Here's Corey Davis, number 5 overall pick last year out of Western Michigan. 3rd down and 5.
Comes the blitz.
Mariota up and down. Anderson got him around the ankle. Flag thrown. Henry Anderson. He had his first Jet start last week. Starts today. 2nd sack. Let's see what the flag is all about.
While the quarterback was in the pocket, holding. Defense, number 21. 5-yard penalty, automatic 1st down.
Morris Claiborne.
Well, it's a big penalty. They were in really good position, and you just see 3rd down is where the Jets have been really good. You see Jamal Adams down there. He's down there for a reason. They want to bring 33, and you see Claiborne, he just panics. Just grabs a hold. He's actually in pretty good position, but he just can't help himself. He grabs the jersey of Tajay Sharp.
Derrick Henry is in. 1st and 10. And down he goes. Luvu, flag, loss of a yard. Back to the 33. Boger's been busy.
Holding. Offense, number 77. 10-yard penalty. Replay 1st down.
Taylor Lewan. Downstairs to Steve Tasker.
Yeah, we spoke to Taylor Lewan on Friday. He said his offensive lineman and himself had a meeting. They had a DTR, a define the relationship conversation like you do with your high school sweetheart. You got to say what you want out of this relationship. They have struggled in the past 5 weeks, and they know that if this team wants to get back in the playoff race, it's up to those 5 guys up front. They have continued to struggle here in the early going.
1st and 20 here. Outside they go. That is caught by rookie free agent Cameron Batson. Look at him fly. The Texas Tech rookie, flag thrown again. Runs out of real estate. Took it up near the 43. 17-yard pickup, but it will be wiped away, it looks like.
Another penalty.
Yeah.
A sloppy start.
It is.
Illegal block in the back. Offense, number 84. 10-yard penalty. Replay 1st down.
And Rich, just as a note, the Titans come into today as the least penalized team in the NFL.
And they keep shooting themselves in the foot early in games, and it's frustrating for a coach like Mike Vrabel. Really got Steve, was just to pay off what Steve Tasker was saying about Taylor Lewan. Ken, I really got a kick out of visiting with him. He came into our production meeting on Friday. He said that I'm angry. I'm really not in a good mood. He sat down. He talked about that DTR talk where they defined their relationship. He went into the offensive line. He said, "Who are we? I mean, who are we going to be the rest of the way? We've got to set the tempo for this offense."
1st and 30. Henry. And from behind, grabbed by Williamson. That is a gain of 4. He's up to about the 18-yard line. They need the 45, so they got a long way to go here. Lewan, a 2-time Pro Bowler. He was at Michigan. He was a 4-year starter for the Wolverines. And Rich, his senior year, he was the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year on the line.
I got a kick out of visiting with him. He came in, had the Hams beer hat on. He said he was mad about that. He said, "Hey, they stopped the distribution to Middle Tennessee. I've got to ship it in." He showed us his Sinatra tattoo that he's got on his right hand. I mean, he's an interesting guy, but I love him. He's intense and he loves football.
2nd down and 26. And Lewis. Oh, he's slippery, isn't he? Look at him. And finally, Buster Skrine will jump on him and rustle him down about the 30. That was a nice gain of 11 yards.
The thing about Dion Lewis, Kevin, he's not very big, but he's got a low center of gravity, and he runs with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He's physical. He's not going to shy away from contact or confrontation. He's a finisher.
5 in the secondary for the Jets. 3rd down and 15. It's Lewis. And again, Luvu is right there to get him. 1-yard gain, that's it. Here come the boos cascading down from a full house, and the punting unit is back out there for the Tennessee Titans.
And I think if I'm Marcus Mariota, I walk right over to that phone, and I pick up the phone, and I call upstairs to the booth, the coach's booth, and I ask Matt LaFleur, "What were you thinking about there? Give me a chance." And then you just throw a little screen to get off the field. It sends a bad message not only to the quarterback, but to your entire offensive football team.
Brett Kern, and again wisely kicking it away from Andre Roberts, the number 2 punt returner in the league. 41-yard punt right there. 3-9 on the hang. Here come the Jets for a second possession.
Well, Mike Vrabel didn't waste any time going over there and addressing the offense about their sluggish start. There's got to be a sense of urgency. I mean, you look at where this team stands at 5-6. With 5 games to play, 4 of them right here in Tennessee. They've got an unbelievable opportunity to finish this season strong and sneak into the playoffs.
Dakota Dozier is now into the left guard, and on 1st and 10 after the punt, they go outside to the running back, and that is Crowell. Wrapped up on the play, gain of 7, hit by Landry.
Well, I think for the Jets to be competitive and win, Isaiah Crowell has to have a big day. He's a talented back if he gets enough opportunities. He's got that great combination of speed and quickness and power and shiftiness. The problem is that they've gotten behind in games and he hasn't gotten enough touches.
2nd down and 3. Here's Crowell again. Brought down that time by Rashaan Evans. It is a gain of 4 just beyond the 35.
Well, he rushed for 219 yards versus Denver in week 5. Since then, just 192 yards and a single touchdown. It's the league's lowest rushing average since week 6. He's averaging just 3.05 a carry. That's not good enough for one of the better backs in football. And again, there's got to be a sense of urgency just in terms of him getting touches and then running the football inside between the tackles.
2 tight ends with a hit on that line by Benny Logan with no gain on the play. Crowell.
It's a good defensive line. You look at Logan and Casey. They play hard. They're physical. They get off those double team blocks. But you talk about the run defense, Kevin. They were so good the first 8-10 weeks of the season, but last couple weeks not so good.
Yeah, they
allowed 261 yards the previous 4 games combined, and the Texans gutted them for 281 on Monday night.
2nd down 10. Outside they go. Cannon, who is chased down by Harold Landry. He's a rookie out of Boston College. It is a gain of 7 through the air up near the 43.
I like this Trenton Cannon. He's getting more opportunities. A young player. Does a lot of little things well, and he's just very natural catching the ball out of the backfield.
Mostly special teams, and Richie's playing with a hamstring injury today, but looks pretty good. He's been in a lot of offensive plays so far for the Jets today.
Yeah, you look at those numbers on third down. It's been a problem all season for the Jets. They're 30th, converting just 30%. This is where they have to be effective today against the Titans.
Elijah McGuire is in third down and 3. They hold him off, and he has his receiver across the middle, and that is Robbie Anderson. Hit by Adoree Jackson. Anderson comes up with a big catch. Gain of 16 on the play. Flag thrown. Couple thrown on the play. As Anderson and Adoree Jackson were going at it. Robbie Anderson with his 25th reception of the season. The gain right now is near the 41. As they discuss, it was really post-play.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, offense, number 11 for taunting, 15-yard penalty, first down.
It was a good-looking play by Josh McCown. He's going to sit in there. He doesn't flinch. The Titans bring a free blitzer. Just watch the footwork of Josh McCown. He knows he's got the crossing route, but just watch him sit in there. He knows the blitz is coming. He knows he's going to take a hit. He's able to make a good, accurate throw on the crosser to Robbie Anderson, being covered by Adoree Jackson. They need to get the ball down the field, those explosive deep balls in the hands of their fastest receiver, Robbie Anderson.
Anderson was sent for a breakout season, but that's not been the case. Just one 100-yard game this season. With the penalty, 1st and 10. Crowell looked like Derek Morgan at the bottom of that pile, and a gain of about a yard to the 45-yard line.
We just got the sense in visiting with the Jets coaching staff last night and some of their players. They know that this offensive line that's been very inconsistent this year, whether it's been pass protection, communication, or the run game production, they had to come out and play well, because you look at their struggles, and the strength of this Tennessee defense is their defensive line.
Myers with a 54-yard field goal. Tremaine Johnson with the pick 6. 10-0 Jets at the end of 1 on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Taco Bell's Rolled Chicken Tacos and by Walt Disney World Resort.
This is a great story. On Friday, Davidson Academy won the Tennessee Division II-A state championship with a win over defending champion Friendship Christian. In that game, Davidson kicker Lauren Brooks made history by becoming the first female to score a point in the Tennessee High School football state championship game.
Well, good for Lauren. That's
no
great.
kidding.
Kevin, you have daughters. I have daughters. That's pretty cool to see.
2nd down 9, first play of the second quarter. McCown. He's deep, and he's right into Anderson. Robbie with another catch. Gain of 16 on the play. Working on Jackson. And put him down inside the 40, 39-yard line.
Nice little deep out route by Robbie Anderson. To see the cushion of Adoree Jackson certainly respects his speed. It's just a little too much cushion. That's an easy throw for Josh McCown.
Anderson this year, Rich, is well off last year's pace. Remember, last year he had 7 touchdowns, led the Jets in yards and receiving touchdowns, 941 yards. Not this year, though. That has not been his story.
Just 23 catches coming into today's game.
1st and 10, Crowell into a thicket. Not much there. He'll nudge his way, Rich, for a gain of a yard.
Well, I saw a quote this week from Robbie Anderson that really got my attention. I'm certain it bothered some people within the organization. He said he wants a long-term deal, not at all interested in being tendered. This from a player with 23 catches and 368 yards. And I think, it's been 6 weeks since you last won a game. I say, where's your focus?
Jets come in. They've lost 5 in a row, 1-4 on the road, 0-3 in November, 3-8 overall record. 2nd down and 10. Like we said earlier, haven't won a road game since opening weekend. Cannon in, McGuire in, and they go outside. Nice looking catch across the way. Andre Roberts lassos that. Malcolm Butler was in the vicinity, put him at the 29, close to a first down.
Well, you can already see that the Jets feel really comfortable with their matchup with the receivers on the corners for the Tennessee Titans. Malcolm Butler has had a really up and down year. In fact, he's struggled a lot in man-to-man coverages. The consistency in the production simply hasn't been there from Butler.
Andre Roberts, Rich, with just his 4th reception of the season. He's been terrific on kickoffs, punt returns.
Good start for Josh McCown.
You're right. Hit 5 in a row. McGuire in the backfield. It is 1st and 10. Outside they go here. Promising rookie Chris Herndon. He's the tight end out of Miami, a 4th-round pick. He picks up 10 on the play. Hit by Evans, the linebacker. And they've been going to him a lot. He had 7 catches last week against the New England Patriots.
Well, he's coming on. 27 receptions since week 6, the 4th-round pick out of Miami. I think he's starting to figure things out. He's certainly taken advantage of his opportunities.
Meanwhile, McCown is 8 of 9. 11th play of the drive.
Look at the cushion down the bottom here.
1st and 10, you called it, Rich, and that's where they go, Enunwa. And Dory Jackson will stop him after a meager gain of 2.
I think this surprised Josh McCown. You just watch the eyes of the quarterback prior to the snap of the football. And he just knows the cushion is too good not to give probably their best playmaker. I really like this Quincy Enunwa, Kevin. He's big, he's physical, he's built like a running back, and he plays like a tight end sometimes. I think if you're Jeremy Bates, the offensive coordinator, you got to continue to find creative ways to get the ball in the hands of your best players, and that's Enunwa and Crowell.
2 tight ends, 2nd down and 8. They had Crowell in the backfield. Ooh, look out. Zeroing in Jayon Brown. He has emerged this season, most improved player perhaps on the Tennessee D.
Well, running backs hate that. You know, if you're the quarterback, you're late to the flat, and you kind of hang up the back, and that's one to look at together in the film room. But
Rich, last night, we know that he had a hand injury from McCown. You asked him about his hand injury last night.
Yeah, he said he felt pretty good. I think it got better, Kevin, as the week went along, and I think Todd Bowles just made a decision on the healthiest quarterback come Friday.
McGuire in the backfield, 3rd down and 8. Here's McCown right on the money, and a little maybe out of the reach, I should say, of McGuire with the lunge, and it's incomplete. It's 4th and 8, and here comes the field goal kicker Myers.
He actually has him here. I think he just rushes the throw, just misses it, doesn't really set his feet, and that's one that the back's not going to catch. You got to put it on the running backs, and Josh McCown knew right away.
So McCown had a back and a right hand injury. It's his passing hand, so something certainly to watch, and you can see how ticked off he is. Even at 39 years of age, man, he is very engaged with this team. 34-yard field goal try by Myers, who kicked a 54-yarder earlier on. Tack on 3 more. The Jets are shutting out Tennessee 13-0 early in the 2nd quarter. They had a pick 6 earlier from Tremaine Johnson. Still not satisfied, McCown. Rich, it's no secret, especially in the New York media and fans, Todd Bowles fighting for his job. Uncertain future, certainly a lot of big decisions on the horizon.
Yeah, and all these coaches, Kevin, have agents so that they know what's going on. They listen to what people are saying. He's lost 17 the last 22 games that they've played, and they need something dramatic to happen over the next 5 weeks, I think, in order for this staff to remain in place.
Touch back to the 25. Folks, we'd like to take this time to remember a longtime friend and co-worker at CBS. He recently passed away at the age of 66. Tommy McCarthy spent 31 years as a Cameron and field tech manager for CBS. He covered NFL games and Final Fours and Olympics and U.S. Open tennis, the Daytona 500. He is survived by his wife, Beverly, 3 children, Aaron, Scott, and TJ, and 2 grandchildren, Carter and Caden. And his wife would tell you, and all of his co-workers here at CBS would tell you, not a finer guy has ever worked for CBS. Wonderful man, great co-worker. Dead all too soon at the age of 66. With the run right here, Corey Davis, the receiver, takes it and flies for 12. They'll put him at the 37-yard line.
You just have to find creative ways to get your best players the ball in space, and that's a good looking design.
There initially by Darren Lee, gain of 2, 40-yard line. Let's go down to Steve.
Yeah, one of the things about this Titan offense you mentioned and you saw as Mike Vrabel's talking to his offensive unit as they come off, very emotionless the players are, but Mike Vrabel trying to motivate his players. And Rich, you know this, if you're trying to do that on game day, you're too late, and that's where the Titans seem to be emotionally today.
2nd down 7. This is Batson, who is belted by Jamal Adams on that 2nd and 7. Looks like he just picked up 7. They're going to give him the first down, Rich, just beyond the Tennessee 47.
Well, we'll see what they can do here. There's, Mike really jumped that group as they came off the field, and not the kind of start that they were hoping for. And an opportunity here now, 1st and 10 around midfield, and they've got to be a little bit more aggressive. I think they've got to be able to challenge the secondary of the Jets. And so much of the passing game for the Titans has been dink and dunk at or around the line of scrimmage.
4 in the secondary for the Jets. Derrick Henry, Lee there again, gain of 3. They get to midfield.
I think you look at this offense, Kevin. I think they lack some firepower. I think you have to ask yourself, who really concerns you? Neither running back averages more than 3.7 a carry. The leading receiver is averaging less than 4.5 catches a game, and he scored just 3 touchdowns in 11 games. The tight end position hasn't been the same without Delaney Walker.
Mike Pennell jumped. Let's see if he was induced on that 2nd down and 7.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense number 98, 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
Mike Pennell in his 2nd season with the Jets got his start in Green Bay, undrafted with the Packers.
You look at Marcus Mariota's 5 completions, all under 10 yards, and that was pretty much the story on Monday night against Houston. They have a difficult time stretching the field vertically. And they have receivers that have top-end speed, but they just don't do a good enough job, I think, challenging secondaries, especially on the early downs.
This is the number 30 offense in pro football. 2nd down and 2 for Mariota. Gets a block from Lewan. Outside to the tight end, Stucker. Flag is thrown. Open field tackle by Jamal Adams. Gain of 9 as it stands now near the 36-yard line with another flag. We've had a lot of them. Titans again guilty.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Holding. Offense. Number 78 is declined.
Conklin.
Holding. Offense. Number 77.
Lewan.
10-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
I think he was holding Luvu, who is coming off that edge.
They're both tackles. You see the frustration from Terrell Lewan. I love what he said to us on Friday. He says, I try to tell the guy across from me how I feel about him and his family after every play. When I go back to the huddle and think about something else nasty to say. Well, he's an intense dude. I'd hate to line up across from him every week.
It is the holiday season, isn't it? 2nd down and 12. Lewis from the backfield. Deion Lewis getting a nice block inside there. Tight end gave that block. That was Michael Pruitt. It is a gain of 5. He's at midfield. Tight ends have become more involved with this offense as the season has gone on, receiving mainly, but they ask him to block, and we saw a good block right there.
Well, they use multiple tight ends in this offense, 4 on the roster, and they try and use them all, and each has a very different and unique role in the system. Here's where you got to be sharp. This is where the Jets are really good on 3rd down. They give you so many different looks, and they have to use a timeout. And talking to Matt LaFleur, he said they have like a Rolodex of different looks, fronts, coverages, and blitzes on 3rd down.
8.5 to play in the first half on CBS. Titans just took a timeout, 0-3 today on 3rd down, including a pick 6.
They give you so many different looks to prepare for. This is where Marcus Mariota's going to have to earn his paycheck today. These 3rd and 5+ situations against the Jets.
They need the Jet 43. Lewan can only hold off so many. That's underthrown. Tajay Sharp was defended on the play by Johnson.
And a lot of this goes back to footwork. You just watch Marcus Mariota at the end. He's starting to his left, and just watch his feet as he comes back to his right to throw this football. He never gets his feet set, throws off balance, and just throws a duck into the ground.
a duck into the ground. That is not good. Kern to punt. Pro Bowler a season ago. Roberts is back. Wynn took it, and into the end zone it bounces. 50-yard punt. Here come the Jets. Mariota trying to figure out what's wrong. Nothing has gone right. Down 13-0.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Pizza Hut, official pizza sponsor of the NFL. Progressive Insurance, handing off big savings to you. And by Lowe's.
Another punt by the Titans. Jets have it. Just saw the Country Music Hall of Fame about a mile from here in downtown Nashville. A 65-degree afternoon. Beautiful day. 1st and 10. This is Crowell. Chased outside, met by Malcolm Butler and others. He's out to about the 26-yard line on a first down gain of 6. Crowell. So the Jets, Rich, losing last week to New England 27-13. They've lost 5 in a row by a total of 86 points. Their last win, home or away, October 14th against the Colts.
But Coach Bowles said, look, the effort's been good. We're hurting ourselves. You know, it's the unforced errors, the mistakes that they've made really on both sides of the ball that have kept the Jets from being more competitive.
2nd down and 4, Crowell tries to snake his way out there. It is a gain of 2, brought down by Woodyard.
Just watch the get off, and it's going to be the challenge for the Jets up front. Just controlling those big bodies in those blue jerseys and knocking them backwards. Not an easy thing to do.
Jayon Brown got a hand on him there as well. 3rd down and 2. The Jets have scored on a 54-yard field goal, a 34-yard field goal, and a pick 6 by Tremaine Johnson. 3rd and 2, Crowell looking for a block from Leggett. I don't think he did. No gain on the play. And at the bottom of the pile was Wesley Woodyard. And they're going to get to the 27. Here comes their punting unit.
You know, Wesley Woodyard makes the play, Kevin, but it really starts up front with Daquan Jones and Austin Johnson and Casey. They do a great job pushing back the offensive line of the Jets. Penetration is what got it done there.
Lachlan Edwards to punt. The back is Adoree Jackson. Hennessy with the long snap. Into the wind. Not very long. Hit a Jet. That was Cannon. Hang time was only 3-1. 6:17 second quarter. 37-yard punt. The defense comes to play on that particular series.
Well, we always say three and outs are demoralizing. Turnovers early. Just haven't been able to find their rhythm offensively to start the game.
Lewis in the backfield after the Jets' first punt of the afternoon. 1st and 10. Davis drops it and wisely falls on it. You just don't know sometimes. Johnson was over there. Well, the Colts losing today. They were shut out in Jacksonville. Tennessee, Rich, with a pulse and certainly in the fight, in the hunt for the wild card.
I mean, one of the struggles, though, Kevin, it's very noticeable when you study this Titans offense, is they have a difficult time pushing the ball down the field. So it really complicates things for an offense if you're not able to stretch the field vertically. Defenses aren't as concerned about defending the deep ball, so they're able to sit and clamp down on the running game, and that's what you're seeing from the Jets. Look at how many white jerseys you see down around the line of scrimmage.
2nd and 10. This goes to the tight end, Michael Pruitt. 3rd catch this season. Gain of 4. Flag is thrown with the gain up to about the 40-yard line.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, offense, number 78 for a late hit.
That's Conklin, right tackle.
15-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Tackle was made by Adams.
Well, you don't want to discourage the hustle and the effort, but you just got to be smart. And You know, this is not the kind of start that they're looking for. You got some penalties from these tackles early in the game and just pushes them behind in the down and distance. And
5 penalties, Rich, and they're all on the offense of Tennessee.
Like Vrabel wants to let them play a little bit, but again, both of these tackles, you look at Conklin and Lewan, they're known for their aggressive style of play. They'll play through the whistle, and sometimes after the whistle.
3rd down and 21, they need the 46. Henry, good, beat on it outside, right there, Avery Williamson. 4 years in Tennessee, now a Jet, gain of a yard. Here comes the punting unit once again for Tennessee, 3rd consecutive punt.
And here come the Boo Birds, and look, I just think at some point you got to take the training wheels off with Marcus Mariota. They're so conservative, Kevin, that they're 5-6. They're playing at home. They're behind 13-0 to a team that hasn't won in 6 weeks. You gotta.
Oh, it's blocked! It's blocked on the play. Looked like it was Kevin Pierre-Louis who blocked the ball. Oh, the Jets are doing it every way. And he recovered the ball. He blocked it, he recovered it, and he gives it to his offense inside the 20-yard line.
This isn't very good. Just watch how this is blocked. And they're going to turn the end man on the line of scrimmage loose. They don't even block him. This is inexcusable. And when you make a mistake like that in special teams, it's hard to win.
First block on Kern. First block by the Jets since 2013. They had a deflection against Cleveland this year, but that is a block. And look at where they've got it at the 18 of Tennessee.
Think about the Jets, Kevin. They come in, they get a score from their defense in the first quarter. They get a block punt from their special teams unit. Now they put Josh McCown and this offense in great position to go up 20-0.
Kevin Pierre-Louis is in his first year with the Jets. McCown, 1st and 10. And he wants it. He's got him! And he overshot him. They were going for Jermaine Kearse. Incomplete.
We always say footwork and accuracy are directly related. It's complete or incomplete.
Offense, number 78. 10-yard penalty.
Harrison,
replay, first down.
the center.
Just watch the route. He has them. I mean, this is about as wide open as you get in our league. But as I said, footwork and accuracy directly related. It's complete or incomplete based on your feet, and they go hand in hand. Watch McCown. He never really sets his feet and steps into that throw.
By the way, Dozier is continuing to play. Dakota Dozier is continuing to play that left guard. Starting today with Spencer Long. 1st and 20.
Screen.
Crowell, what a nice read right there by Sharif Finch. He is a rookie free agent out of Temple. Throws him for a loss of 4 back to the 32. They were at the 18. Now they're all the way back to the 32.
Boy, that would have been a huge play had Finch not reacted the way he did. I mean, there was a lot of green grass in front of Crowell, but he doesn't have a chance. I mean, Finch just sniffed that one out the whole way.
2nd down and 24. It's Crowell. They try to ride him down. Casey grabbing him. 3-time Pro Bowler. One of the best guys on that defense. Allows him just a gain of 5 down to the 26.
One thing I like about Crowell is he's so decisive. I mean, just look, he's just right downhill. He doesn't hesitate, he doesn't pause, he puts his foot in the ground and gets north and south. And that's the thing that you like with a back like Isaiah Crowell. There's not a lot of indecision, and as a result, there's not a lot of negative runs.
Third and 19, Crowell. Blocked by Winters. They got a beat on him, and they bring him down. Harold Landry, another rookie, is there, limiting him to a gain of a yard at the 25. The block punt gives them this great beginning field position, but they've got to settle for 3.
Well, the Jets really struggle with their red zone offense. They're dead last in red zone touchdown production. They're just scoring about 40% of the time when they're not part of the field, and that's been a problem for the Jets. They settle for way too many field goals down here in the red zone.
43-yard try, and it looks like it got a little shove from the wind. It was into the wind. He gets it from 43. Myers is 3 of 3, having really a Pro Bowl caliber year. 16-0 the Jets. Late first half, back in 30 seconds. After this from Allstate. Well, they're in the playoff hunt, but they're not playing like it today, as the Tennessee Titans have had these kind of miscues, a pick six, the penalties, a punt blocked. It has not been to plan today for Mike Vrabel, his first year as a head coach of this team.
And on top of that, Kevin, the offense has been anemic. I mean, they're just 64 yards of offense. They're 0 for 5 on third down, and they look lost.
Deep back is Jennings. He'll take it out. The #1 kick returner in the National Football League, getting some blocking. And then disrupted on the play by Neville Hewitt. It is a 36-yard return next Saturday, 3 Eastern. Game of Honor, the 119th Army-Navy game. Army on a 7-game winning streak. Coverage, this great tradition begins with college football today at 2:30 Eastern next week on CBS. Part of that coverage in the NFL with guys like Chris Burns and Stu Milstein and KJ Theano, along with Derek Nelson, some of the great backbone of CBS Sports, working with the graphics and bringing you these broadcasts every Sunday in the NFL. 1st and 10. Mariota with the fake to Henry. And he'll be decked. Hit by Pennell. Gets out for a gain of 3, Rich, on a dive, a lunge to the 35.
The protection was good. He just had nowhere to throw it. And, you talked to Todd Bowles last night, and he said, look, he's very accurate when he has his first read. If not, he's quick to run. So they know that they talked all week about not letting Marcus Mariota escape from the pocket.
4 defensive backs, 2nd down and 7. Henry. Jenkins has him. And belted by Adams, close to a first down. Jordan Jenkins makes the initial hit. We're at the 2-minute warning, and the Jets are shutting out Tennessee.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Dell and the XPS 13 with Dell Cinema. And by Macy's.
Right now at our CBS studios in New York, they're putting together the Verizon Halftime Report. JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, and Coach Cowher. Scores, news, highlights. Next in the Verizon Halftime Report. You know, there was a great story in the Daily News today, Rich, about games like this reveals a lot. If you've got pride, or you're going to mail it in.
Well, I think, obviously the effort and the resolve of the Jets has been impressive. Kevin, you talk about a team that's lost 5 straight. I wasn't sure which team we were going to see today.
Henry on 3rd and 1, stiff-arming his way upfield with a gain of 4 into Avery Williamson, his former teammate here.
But clearly the Jets are the team that's playing with a greater sense of urgency and a greater purpose. And I think it speaks volumes about their respect and the admiration that they have for their head coach, Todd Bowles.
Outside defense, number 48. 5-yard penalty resulting in a first down.
Jenkins. Timeouts, Jets 3, Tennessee 2.
You see Coach Bowles over there still calling the defense. He's an intense guy. It doesn't always come across, I think, sometimes in the press conferences, but these players respect him. They play hard for them, and defense has been outstanding here in the first half. 5 in the Jets secondary. 1st and 10.
Lewis is in, blocked by Luan. Nice catch there, reeled in by Firkser. It is a gain of 5. Firkser, originally undrafted, played with the Jets for a while. He's from the state of New York. Nice catch to the 48.
This wasn't an easy catch. He's looking to the right of your screen. He just makes a good effort, just a one-handed grab, and he's able to squeeze it and hold on the boundary. Good effort there by the tight end.
Tennessee with the pulse in the AFC playoff race, including today for the final 5 games at home. Over the last 16 at home, Tennessee 13-3. Second down and 5, blocked by Lewis in time, and that's what happens. Davis across the middle, hit by Adams, put him to the 26-yard line of the Jets. 22-yard pickup.
Well, this is a good-looking route by Corey Davis. This little dig route, and see how he just throttles in the hole, and Mariota puts it right on him.
22-yard pickup by Davis. First and 10, Mariota. He gets away from Williams. On the move. This is one of the great things he does. There's a block, and the play by Firkser hits the deck near the 10. Put him at the 12. 14-yard run by Marcus Mariota.
And this is really where he's most dangerous, when he's able to elude the rush, scramble, and get outside the pocket. He's a threat to either throw it or run from that position.
First and 10. Oh, he's got Firkser, and he's got 6. Touchdown.
Well, here's the tight end. He's working across the field, and you're going to see the crossing route come from the other side, right in the middle there, and that gives him the opportunity to kind of throttle it down there and make himself available for Marcus Mariota. Good throw to the tight end, Firkser.
His first NFL touchdown. The extra point, that's blocked. May have been screen. We'll have to go back and take a look. There was a lot of congestion as the Jets have blocked an extra point and they have blocked a punt.
I think this was low, Kevin. This gets blocked up the middle. I just think this comes off the foot of Ryan Succop. It's kind of a low kick.
Was it Williams who got? I couldn't tell, Rich. Maybe Williams.
Someone in the interior of that
low kick is right.
The PAT block unit, but that thing came
Succop.
off low.
First blocked extra point by the Jets since 2009. So we've had a block punt, block PAT. We got a 10-point lead for the Jets with 57 seconds to play here in the first half.
Good look at Brant Boyer, the special teams coordinator for the Jets. And you're always looking for some ways to make your team more competitive, and he's done a terrific job. How about this group? They've got a punt block. They've got an extra point block.
Rich, these are the first blocks they've had in 78 games. Back to 2013 with a punt block and PAT block moments ago.
These special teams coaches, Kevin, they work long hours during the week, and they don't always know which players are going to be up and available, but they put together great plans, and it just takes one bad play to ruin your entire day.
Succop to Andre Roberts, who will leave it in the end zone. After the 12-yard touchdown pass to the tight end, NFL players are showcasing their passions beyond the game and letting their cleats do the talking as part of the My Cause, My Cleats. They're supporting charitable causes through custom-designed shoe wear. Cleats. Discover how players are making a difference in their communities and bid on their special edition cleats at NFL.com/MyCauseMyCleats.
A lot of times, coordinators, you look with 57 seconds left and 3 timeouts, they'll call a conservative play here, get the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly, and if they get a productive play, then they'll jump the ball. So they can't get some points before the half.
First and 10, here comes Orakpo.
There it is.
Yep, right on the screws right there, caught by the tight end Herndon. Run out of bounds. He takes it inside the Titan 50 near the 47. A catch and run at 28. A flag is thrown against the Jets.
10-yard penalty. Replay first down.
You don't have to be a rip leader to see how he feels about that.
Yeah, he's going to look at Beachum. He just gets Orakpo around the neck and just grabs him. And you can see he knows right away.
Beecham, who has started every game at that left tackle. Second season with the Jets. 1st and 20 with the penalty in tow.
You look at that play, Kevin. They would have the ball at midfield with 3 timeouts left.
Right.
All of a sudden, you're looking at an easy field goal try.
And a great kicker.
A couple more shots. Now you're backed up, and now you're looking at probably just running out the clock and going into the locker room at halftime up 10.
It would be into a breeze. That was McGuire for 2. Coming up, the Verizon halftime report. JB and company with news and scores and highlights from a busy afternoon in the NFL. Next on the Verizon halftime report. 2nd down and 18. It's McGuire. Leggett with a block. Dozier trying to block, and a gain of 4. Woodyard upended him initially and then hit on the play by Landry. That is going to take us to halftime. Jets by 10. Halftime is next after these first half highlights from Verizon. And a word from your local CBS station.
Want more stats? Hey Siri, who leads the league in sacks?
The Jets by 10 at halftime over the Tennessee Titans. With Rich Gannon, Kevin Harlan, Steve Tasker's on our sideline. First half thoughts.
Well, if the Titans thought the Jets were going to come down here and just roll over after losing 5 straight, they're wrong. I mean, the Jets have been the more physical team. Kevin, they've come and punched the Tennessee Titans right in the mouth and getting big plays on defense. They score on defense, obviously big plays in the kicking game. But I mean, just to start the game with a turnover and a score on defense, Tremaine Johnson jumps the under route. They get a punt block, and Kevin Pierre-Louis comes off. That sets up a field goal, and of course Henry Anderson. Just look at the effort there. Henry Anderson pushing inside. He gets the block on the extra point. And the Jets find themselves up 16-0. I think what's been the most impressive to me has been the overall play of their defense. The Jets have been outstanding. Look at those numbers. The Titans haven't converted a single 3rd down attempt in the first half.
Jets have lost 5 in a row. Haven't won on the road since opening weekend. The second half kickoff is away. Andre Roberts. Oh, and look at him fly. One to beat. And LaShawn Sims knocks him out of bounds. That was a terrific return by Andre Roberts, who has 5 returns of 40 yards or more, 3 kicks and 2 punts. That was for 61 yards. Long kickoff return of the year for him. Let's go to Steve Tasker on the sideline.
I spoke to both coaches at halftime, Kevin. Todd Bowles said, listen, defensively, the Jets have got to keep Marcus Mariota in the pocket. Feels like they're playing good enough on that side of the ball, but they've got to stop getting penalties. And for the Titans, I asked Mike Vrabel for some bullet points on both sides of the ball. He says, how about all 3 sides? Our special teams, offense and defense, have to play better. Defensively, they settled in after being put in some bad spots. But as you see, that big kickoff return to start the second half, once again, special teams has bitten the Titans.
Dozier stays at that left guard. Crowell in the backfield. 1st and 10 for McCown. Batted down. Hit there by Arakpo. Got in that passing lane to McCown. 2nd down and 10. Arakpo is a 3-time Pro Bowler, mainly with the Redskins.
On top of your screen, you're going to see Casey and Arakpo working together. And if you can't get there, you just stick one of those big mitts up and trying to get in the throwing lane of Josh McCown. Good effort there by Brian Arakpo.
Elijah McGuire is in 2nd down and 10. Cannon on the move. McGuire to about the 40 with a hit by Jayon Brown and a gain of 2.
Well, I would have liked to have been in that locker room of the Titans at halftime to hear what Mike Vrabel had to say. This is a team that has lost 2 straight coming into this game. They haven't played their best football since those back-to-back wins over Dallas and the Patriots in November. And there has to be a sense of urgency here in the second half. If they have any hopes at all of making a push to the playoffs for the 2nd straight season.
Nickel secondary, 3rd down and 8. Blocked by McGuire, but they come up the middle and they grab him with Byard. But Herndon was there and covered on the play and broken up on the play by Logan Ryan, where they were bringing two up the middle. McGuire caught one, but Byard went right at the quarterback.
Well, you see both in the gap, and what they do is they open up a big lane for Byard, and I think this catches McCown off guard, and I'll tell you what, that was a poor decision to throw this one up. That could have easily been intercepted if Adoree Jackson would have been more aggressive.
And the Jets squander outstanding beginning field position after the 61-yard kick return by Andre Roberts. Edwards will try to get it inside the 20. Nope. It'll be at the 20 on a touchback. Lachlan Edwards, only his 4th touchback in 62 punts this year. That's a 40-yard punt and a timeout in Nashville on CBS. Tennessee's got the ball after the punt by the Jets. 5-6 Titans. They've lost 2 straight, 5 of 7 coming off a Monday night loss. They began the season 3-1. Now 5-6 and holding on to a slight pulse in the playoff race in the AFC. Mariota, Dion Lewis. Wrapped up by Pennell. Gain of 4 to the 24.
Well, as you look at the numbers for both quarterbacks, not a whole lot to talk about, not a ton of production. The big number there that really jumps out to you is the mistake, the interception in the first quarter that Mariota threw the pick 6 to Tremaine Johnson that put the Jets on the board first.
2nd down, 6. Undershoots his crossing receiver. That was Corey Davis. 3rd and 6.
Well, he gets a push in the pocket, and that, you got to keep Mariota clean, and you got to give him a pocket where he can trust the protection and step up into it. And he gets stepped on there at the end by the guard.
They have been partially deflected there by Pennell. Rich, what's your read on Mariota?
Well, Kevin, I'd say he's been okay, not great. The production to me has to get better at some point. When you talk about his production from the pocket, we know about his athleticism, his ability to make plays on the move, but he's not been great throwing the ball from the pocket.
3rd and 6. Johnson was defending Corey Davis. Here comes the punting unit, 3 and out.
He's completing 70% of his passes on the season, but he's thrown just 9 touchdowns so far.
That's the lowest in the league, isn't it, for a guy that started all the games?
But not only that, it's just when you look at the 70% completion percentage, most of that is at or around the line of scrimmage. They just have a difficult time pushing the ball down the field, and that makes it easier to defend the field when you're a defense like the Jets.
Kern into the wind, line drive, and
that wasn't very good either.
I think that wind was it's only 10 miles an hour, but it's there. The punt is short. Jets are going to get it, leading by 10.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm, here to help life go right. Subway, make it what you want. And by the Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2019 Truck of the Year.
Down to about 62 degrees here in Nashville. Skating. We came into the game not knowing who the starting quarterback was going to be. Even when we talked to him last night, they wouldn't tell us. It is McCown over the injured Darnold.
I really felt like we were going to see Sam Darnold today, Kevin. They had me fooled. We kept him in that production meeting a lot longer. I wanted to find out about his mindset coming into this one after missing the last 2 with that foot injury.
The hard-charging Crowell, brought down by Byard and others. Running for 16, Rich, down to the Tennessee 44 on 1st down.
A good-looking run, and always like Isaiah Crowell, even going back to his days with the Browns. He didn't play behind a very good offensive line, and maybe even more importantly, the quarterback situation wasn't very good in Cleveland, but
the Bilal Powell injury opened up a lot more for Crowell. 1st and 10, blocked by Leggett, turns the corner, and there he goes. Byard to beat, and he's down inside the 15-yard line. It's a 27-yard run. They'll put him, at the 17.
Just watch him wash the whole right side of that Tennessee defensive line down. I mean, somebody's got to contain. Even the cornerback is in a position. You look at Malcolm Butler, he takes a false step, and now he's not even in a position to be able to set the edge. You have to be able to set the edge in the running game.
See what they do here in the red zone. They've had some other chances, and field goals is something they have had to settle for. With the 1st and 10 here from the 17, the fake to Crowell. McCown is down. Flag, as you see, hit by an avalanche, and eventually it's Jayon Brown on him. First sack today, authored by that Tennessee defense. Flag appears to be against the Jets.
Holding, offense, number 70. This penalty is declined. 2nd down.
Dakota Dozier, and we've just gotten word that Spencer Long, moved from center to start at left guard last 2 games, is ill and out, and that's why Dozier is in.
Well, both guards struggle. One gets the penalty, the other one gets beat for the sack. You look at Winters on the right side, Jarrell Casey beats him around the edge, and then on the other side, Dozier out of position.
It was Casey. That's a sack, and Casey now has 5 on the year. It is the 5th consecutive season that he's had at least 5 sacks. In fact, make it 6 straight years for Casey. Timeout McCown. Frustrated and goes to the sideline.
Yeah, the play clock was down inside of a couple seconds, and he was forced to use that timeout and go over on the sideline and talk to offensive coordinator Jeremy Bates.
Quick conversation there. Tonight on CBS, country sensation Garth Brooks will rock the house that Rockne built. It's the first live concert ever held at legendary Notre Dame Stadium. Don't miss Garth live at Notre Dame. That's tonight after 60 minutes. Only CBS. The Jets, Rich, have had 2 red zone possessions today. They have settled for 2 field goals. Myers is 3 of 3, including a game-beginning 54-yarder. 2nd down and 13. McGuire in the backfield. Finch was there. Here comes Casey. Nice sidestepping, but down he goes nonetheless. 21-yard line, Brown and others. And Casey again. He loses a couple on the play. 2nd sack, losing yards. A yard is what he lost.
Well, I really like watching Jarrell Casey play. I mean, he just got a non-stop motor. He doesn't take plays off. He's a grinder. Inside, almost losing those pants. Got to get him a tighter belt.
3-time Pro Bowler, 6 straight seasons with at least 5 sacks. Starter every game and always there.
Well, for a second there, I was having a problem with my garbage disposal.
What do you mean?
When I saw his pants, I thought maybe I was confused for a second. I forgot I was calling an NFL game.
Sharif Finch is the one who's slow to get up.
I love Jarrell Casey, though. I just, you know, I play with a lot of good defensive tackles, and just, I think the one common theme is their intensity, their effort, and their finish. The ones that don't take plays off. John Randall was a teammate of mine in Minnesota, and he was that type of player. Relentless pursuit of the football.
Casey's some kind of player, isn't he? 3rd down and 14. McGuire is wide, drops Anunwa. Picked up quickly by Casey, and Brown was over there defending, and Quincy could not find the handle.
You know, if the Jets aren't able to find a way to finish it out here in the 2nd half, they're going to look back, Kevin, on their lack of production with their red zone offense. You get down inside the 30-yard line, and you keep having to settle for field goals, and that's been a problem, a consistent problem all year for the Jets. They're dead last in red zone offense.
He was signed in camp, Jason Myers was, after being claimed off waivers from Seattle. 39-yard field goal try. He gets another one. 4 of 4 today. He's had a game this year where he's gone 7 of 7. Part of the Jet story in Tennessee. Up now, 19-6 on CBS. Rich, no doubt this game very much in doubt for Tennessee. And a loss puts them in dire straits.
It really does. And, you know, you look at, this isn't really a team that's built to
come back, right?
No. And look, if they can't run the football, they're going to struggle, because running the football sets up everything they want to do as an offense. They're so reliant on their rushing attack and the play action off of that. But if it gets to be a drop back type of game, that's not really where Marcus Mariota thrives in this offense.
They'll leave it in the end zone. Jennings watches it sail overhead to the 25 with a touchback and 1st and 10.
You know, he played so well last week throwing the football. He looked comfortable throwing the ball from the pocket. And again, the protection hasn't been great this season for Mariota. I think it's affected his footwork. I mean, the confidence to sit in there and trust the protection and make good, accurate throws. And the Jets talked about it a lot last night. If we could take away his initial read, then all of a sudden we really got a chance, because he's not a quarterback that really works through and sees the entire field and works through his progressions and gets to that 3rd and 4th receiver.
Corey Levin is the new center. Here's a 1st and 10 Mariota throw, and it's grabbed by Tajae Sharpe, who's in turn grabbed by Morris Claiborne. It is a catch and run at 27 yards, and they're in Jet territory.
This is really where I think Marcus Mariota's at his best. Changing the launch point, getting him out on the edge where he's got a two-way go, and finding his big receiver, Tajae Sharpe.
Mariota comes in 19th in rating, 28th in passing yards among NFL quarterbacks, with an injured player across the way. 31st in touchdown passes, and his record, Rich, as a starter, as we're still trying to make out who's down of there. Claiborne made the stop, and it may be indeed Morris Claiborne. And I'm going through the guys on the field. They'll bring in Rashard Robinson as a replacement. Mariota's starting record, Rich, is 23-28 as a starting quarterback for this team. They've had 2 straight 9-7 seasons, and they're right now 5-6.
Well, I think we've talked a lot about Marcus Mariota in the past, Kevin. 4 different offensive coordinators in 4 years. His rookie year was Ken Wisenhunt, then they had Jason Michael, then Robisky, and now you've got Matt LaFleur, and so you're constantly changing things up around a young quarterback, and I think that certainly hurts his ability to kind of continue to progress as you look at Morris Claiborne down there on the field. And
he hasn't missed a start this season. 2nd season with the Jets, and he was over there along with Roberts, making the stop on Sharpe.
Tough to tell what happened there, and good to see him up walking around on the sideline.
It is. 1st round pick by Dallas, 7 years out of LSU. In the secondary, they bring the 3rd-year LSU defensive back, Rashard Robinson, to take his place. It's 1st and 10 after the 27-yard pass to Sharpe, who's in motion, and Henry dodges Williams, and then around his ankles he finds Jamal Adams. He is having a terrific season, a gain of 3 right there.
Well, let's take a look at this offense. They're 29th in scoring. You look at the total yards and passing yards, they're 30th, and this is really where they've been bad. The sacks allowed. In fact, they're on pace to give up 52 sacks, which would be almost twice as many as they've given up in the last 2 seasons combined.
Spain is out at the left guard. Jones, the center, is the left guard. Levin is the center. 2nd down and 7. Nice catch. Sharpe. Right in front of Tremaine Johnson. A 20-yard reception and a 1st down. They're inside the 25.
Isn't it amazing what Marcus Mariota can do with a clean pocket? And I just think you got to give him a good clean pocket, give him a chance to take a second hitch and set his feet, and he can be very accurate, as we saw last week, completing his first 19 passes against Houston.
1st and 10, 24. Look out, here comes Jenkins. He dumps it off. Jonnu Smith, tight end, 1st catch today. Avery Williamson rides him down about the 12. That is a catch and run of 11. Another Tennessee 1st down.
Well, here's Smith. He's going to come working all the way back across the formation. You see the fake. And this is a good throw by Marcus Mariota, because he realizes that the end man on the line of scrimmage is unblocked. Watch him get his head around. He knows that they're not going to be able to block Jenkins, and he knows exactly where to go with the football.
1st and 10, pitch out. Henry. Lewan trying to block, and does. Continues to block. Down to the 2. Brought down by Williamson. Hit by Pennell. 11-yard 1st down run by the Heisman winner, Derrick Henry. 1st and goal.
And this is what they need to do more of. This is where I think Henry can be so effective. Kevin, this guy's 6'3", he's 242 pounds, and he needs to be more involved carrying the football in this part of the field.
He's had 4 touchdown runs the past 5 games. Make it another one. He's had 5 in the last 6. And he brings the Titans closer. A 1-yard touchdown run by Derrick Henry.
That's a good-looking run by Derrick Henry, and he's going to start out to his left. There's nothing there. There's some pushing. And watch him put his foot in the ground, keep those feet churning, and good finish there by Derrick Henry. And he's one of those old-school backs, Kevin. He just doesn't get enough carries. You know, once he gets lathered up, he can be very effective.
Succop with the extra point. Now the Jets are going to look back on those 3 red zone possessions, settling for 3 field goals. Momentum has swung, and Tennessee has captured it with a touchdown run by Derrick Henry.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Starbucks. Sip a cup of magic. And by Verizon. The best unlimited is on Verizon, America's most awarded network.
Receiver Tajay Sharp was shut out until that pass drive, catches a 27-20. Then Henry had a run of 11, and then the 1-yard touchdown run for the former player from Alabama. And that was an important drive with plenty of time left. The ensuing kickoff. Andre Roberts from about the 1. He's had a long kickoff return already, and he's grabbed right there by Darius Jennings and others. 23-yard return near the 23. CBS Super Bowl season continues as the playoff pressure builds. Next Sunday, Baltimore battling Kansas City. Indy taking on Houston. Rich and I will be in Houston. Chargers and Bengals. And for complete playoff coverage, the NFL Today covers you beginning at 12 Eastern. The South, Colts losing today at Jacksonville. Another win for the Texans. No team in pro football history has lost their first 3, then won their next 9, except the Texans this year. And the Titans, as we know, mired right now in a 2-game losing streak with a player down for Tennessee. Was it Jennings who made that hit? Perhaps. It was. He played for the Jets for a while, as we told you earlier, and he's had a nice season as the kickoff return guy for Tennessee. Player who set records at the University of Virginia as a return man. Hobbles off. Rich, we're going to see if the momentum clearly has changed now. And McCown comes out there. He has only hit 1 of his last 6 for the Jets offense.
They need to hit the switch and get Josh McCown settled down a little bit, Kevin, and get him going. He got off to such a good start, but as you said, he's really cooled off here in the second half.
Herndon in motion. Crowell, the running back. First down and 10. Tomlinson in motion. Tomlinson a block. Beecham tries to block. And then he's wrapped up by Rashaan Evans with a gain of 4 up to the 27-yard line. To New York, and here's James.
Hey, Kevin, you're familiar with this. The Chiefs are on a roll.
They are rolling right now, Kevin. A direct snap right to Spencer Ware on 4th and goal. He breaks the plane at the goal line, goes in for the score. The Chiefs extend their lead 26-10 over the Raiders.
Back to Kevin Harlan, Rich Gannon, and Steve Tasker.
I'll tell you what, that Kansas City offense, Rich, gives you a lot of different looks. Thanks, guys.
I'm not surprised, Kevin, to see Spencer Ware do well. He's certainly a capable replacement for Kareem Hunt.
2nd down and 6 run by Crowell, wrapped up high by Woodyard. It is a gain of 4 to the 32. Yeah, they're right. They're without the defending rushing champion, Kareem Hunt in Kansas City. So now Spencer Ware, more of a journeyman than anything, Rich, will be the guy.
He missed last season with a knee injury. And another critical 3rd down here for the Jets.
It is.
They've had their struggles. Just 1 of 7 on 3rd down against the Titans.
3rd and 2. Multiple tight ends. McCown to one of those tight ends, Leggett, and there he goes for the first. Brought down by Morgan. Leggett with his 9th reception of the season, flag thrown, 14-yard gain. It's going to be against New York. Wipes out a 14-yard catch and run. The tight end from Clemson, Jordan Leggett.
Illegal block in the back. Offense, number 83. 10-yard penalty. Replay, 3rd down.
Boy, really was after the first down. It was totally not necessary. Eric Tomlinson coming in there after the catch was made. You see up the top of your screen right here, he's pushing at the end there, and Leggett's already made the first down.
Well, the crew is having a hard time here deciding where the ball should be placed. Finally, they decide the 32. It is a spot foul. Third and 2. McGuire is in. McGuire looked like he got a good block from Shell. He was tackled by Jones. He picks up 3. He's got the first down up to the Jet 35. Shell came over at the right tackle, pulling and blocking.
Well, you get a nice double team here, but watch the cut from the back. I mean, there's penetration, but it's just a really nice adjustment by Elijah McGuire and a great effort to extend for the first down. Watch the adjustment right there in the backfield. He puts that left foot in the ground. He gets upfield in a hurry.
Drive continues for the Jets. One time they led 16-0. Crowell got by Jackson. And then he is brought down by Brown, and no gain on the play. Jayon Brown gets him, and he tackles him at the line of scrimmage, the 35.
You watch both of these offenses, and they just seem like they have a difficult time generating explosive plays through the air. And, I don't know if it's design. I don't know if it's a personnel issue. But this kid Josh McCown, I know, Kevin, he's 16 years in the league, but he can still chuck it. And they've not done a good enough job, in my opinion, really challenging these corners for Tennessee.
Second down and 9, end around, and this will go to Andre Roberts with blocking ahead. Brought down by Byard, takes it to the 46-yard line. 15 yards, end around. Andre Roberts has had a good game returning and running. It's a first down for the Jets.
Well, here he is at the top of your screen, and they're just going to have the action at it. But watch, once he gets rolling, watch him put his foot in the ground and get north and south right here in a hurry. And that's a good-looking run by Roberts.
Herndon with a nice block, too, to help that move to the 46.
No fair dancing.
No fair dodging. Crowell on 1st and 10. Winners tries to clear some room. Brought down on the play by Sharif Finch with a gain of 3, Rich, to the 43.
You look at this Tennessee defense, and one of the areas where they have really struggled is the fact that they haven't had a takeaway in 5 straight games. That's a franchise record. You have to go all the way back to week 6.
They're 28th in takeaways, only 9 this season. The Tennessee defense, second down 7. McCown, and it is grabbed by Anderson. Adoree Jackson was over there. The catch at the 35. It's a pickup of 8. It's a first down.
A nice job by Anderson working back down the boundary. Watch him put his foot in the ground and just keep working back to the football.
As we just told you, Jackson is down. Across the way. Titans at 5 and 6. Jets at 3 and 8. Dory Jackson was the #1 pick out of SC a season ago. He came in with a knee injury.
He's pointing to that left hand.
Rabel going out there to take a look. Rich, the home record of the Tennessee Titans going back to 2016, incredibly strong. Last 16 games here, Tennessee 13-3, which, as you were saying to kick off the show, 4 of the final 5 games, including this, are at home to finish off the season.
And they have to take advantage of the schedule. As you mentioned, 4 December home games, which is really unusual. And you're right, they are tough to beat at home. 13 of the last 16, but they're making things difficult on themselves, getting off to a really kind of slow start in the first half, but they have played better here in the second.
LaShawn Sims will take the place. He had 10 starts as a rookie. He's a third-year player. 5 starts last year. Off the bench now, 9th play of the drive. Jets have gotten a 15-yard run by Roberts, 8-yard pass to Anderson. Sims, bottom of your screen. Let's see if McCown goes after him. He goes the other way. Oh! Brown was right before the guy in the crosshairs. Chris Herndon, the tight end, on the throw by McCown. Incomplete.
Well, that was close. And this Tennessee defense, this linebacking core, as you see Brown make the effort there. They've gone 31 straight games without an interception from their linebackers.
31 games.
And Jayon Brown had the opportunity, just couldn't squeeze it.
2nd down and 10. And they give this off to Trenton Cannon, who picks up 5, holding on to that ball for dear life down to the 30-yard line of the Tennessee Titans. 3rd and 5, another big 3rd down for New York. Drive is approaching 6 minutes. McGuire in the backfield. 5 in the secondary for the Titans.
Well, somebody's got to win against man-to-man coverage. One of these receivers.
They're down 5. Leggett. And he's got the first down. Tripped up on the play by Sims. Gain of 8 on 3rd and 5. Leggett with his 9th reception of the season.
And Kevin Byard is covering the tight end from about 8 yards off, and he just gets blocked by Quincy Enunwa at the end there. Just takes enough of Byard to allow Leggett to get the first down. Talked to Byard on Friday. He said he was looking forward to playing against Sam Darnold. He said he stares down the receivers. He's a rookie. He'll stare down receivers, and really felt like they had an opportunity to get after the rookie quarterback.
Crowell, no place to run, no place to hide, and puts his head down, and Ryan will bring him down after a gain of a yard near the 21-yard line of Tennessee.
You know, it's interesting. You think about how these defensive backs think. You know, you don't get a shot at a lot of these rookies, and you look at Darnold. He leads the league with 14 interceptions, even though he's missed the last 2 games. And they were very aware of the fact that they had an opportunity to see him, and unfortunately for Byard, it's not the rookie, but the 16-year veteran, Josh McCown, who's not going to stare down receivers.
4 in the secondary, 2nd down and 9. McCown looking for Anderson, and covered on the play by Malcolm Butler. 3rd and 9. Another big 3rd down on the drive for the Jets.
Well, they just keep getting down in this red zone fringe area, and they keep settling for field goals. Well, I'd like to see him take a shot here, Kevin. Forget the sticks. Just throw one up into the end zone. Give one of these receivers. Give me Quincy Enunwa. Get him matched up on somebody and let him go to work.
Enunwa is right off the tackle. 3rd and 9. That's what he's doing, Rich, like you wanted. And for Enunwa, and covered on the play by Butler, but the ball was thrown out of bounds.
A good coverage there by Malcolm Butler.
Yep.
They weren't at all fooled.
Here comes the Jets field goal unit.
Good look at Butler. They run the little flatten up, and Malcolm Butler isn't fooled.
So Myers, who has kicked
he's going to be sore tomorrow.
4 field goals. Well, he's had a game where he's kicked 7 field goals. That was against the Colts. 6th time ever. Guy was 7 of 7 in a game. Here's a 39-yard field goal right down the middle. The lead is extended by the New York Jets over Tennessee. A 5th field goal made by Jason Myers. We'll be back after 30 seconds in this message from Progressive Insurance. The rookie talking to the veteran over there, Darnold, visiting with 39-year-old Josh McCown, who is starting today. Darnold inactive. Backup quarterback for the Jets, by the way, Davis Webb. He was signed from the practice squad in November, early November. Myers has had 6 kickoffs today, 5 touchbacks, and he's 4 of 4.
Got a strong leg.
5 of 5 in field goals. That graphic was off and missing 1. That is in the end zone touchback. We pause now to remember George H.W. Bush, the 41st President of the United States. Served his country in the military. An avid sportsman as well. He played first base at Yale, earned induction to the World Golf Hall of Fame throughout his share of first pitches and coin tosses. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell called him, quote, a genuine fan who understood the power of sports to bring people together. Send our condolences to his family in Texas and his admirers around the world. 1st and 10. Screen pass to the tight end, Jonnu Smith. Oh, he can run, as he did in Houston on a 61-yard touchdown reception Monday night. Knocked out of bounds by Claiborne. 18-yard catch and run. You can see now this Tennessee offense has the rhythm.
This is very similar to the touchdown he had last week. He's blocking first, and then they just turn the end man loose, and he just gets caught in the screen.
Oh, Lewis fumbled the ball. Picks it up, vacuums it in, takes it to midfield, tackled by Johnson.
He wasn't expecting the ball. I mean, there's something went wrong here. Seriously wrong. The back's not even expecting it.
Able to get the shorts on straight. They're right on the cusp right now in the playoff race in the AFC, and there's not a lot of breathing space. Some of the numbers with our game this afternoon here in Nashville. 5 field goals by the Jets, a pick 6 by Johnson early in the game. Here's a 2nd and 3, first play of the 4th quarter. Davis in motion. Marcus Mariota deep, and he's got him. He's got him, and he missed him. Looking for Taywan Taylor. And he had beaten the coverage of the defenseman Darrell Roberts, the free safety.
You're going to see the play action, but watch the middle of the field. It is wide open. And the safety doesn't retreat deep enough. This is, Kevin, when you got him this wide open, you've got to be able to hit him. I mean, Taywan Taylor is going to hit his head on the back of the goalpost.
3rd down 3. Deep here and incomplete. Going for Jennings. Covered on the play by Tremaine Johnson. That fizzles. And here comes the punting unit.
Well, they let an opportunity get away there. I mean, that was a great play design. The protection was good. The action got them. They've got the one-on-one coverage with the middle of the field wide open, and they just miss it.
Brett Kern to punt. Led the NFL last season in gross and net punting. Roberts is back there. Fair caught about the 9. 41-yard punt. Hang a 3-7 by Kern. Jets holding on early in the 4th on CBS. Tennessee just punted. Worst beginning field position for the Jets. Crowell in the backfield. 1st and 10. 5 field goals for the Jets today. McCown, and incomplete. going for Enunwa with the coverage on the play by Adoree Jackson back in, but favoring still that left hand coming up after the game, time permitting. The State Farm post-game show from our CBS studios in New York. JB and Company, scores, news, and highlights. That's coming up next, time permitting. The State Farm post-game show. 2nd down and 10. McCown today, 14 of 24, 111, no touchdowns, no picks. Crowell picking and poking his way. There just is nothing there. A big wall of dark blue there to stop him. Gain of 2. Rich out to the 12.
Well, neither team has really been all that good on 3rd down. The Titans haven't converted a 3rd down all day, and the Jets just 3 of 10. And this is where things speed up for quarterbacks. And this is really where a lot of these defensive coordinators spend so much of their time during the week preparing and dialing up all these different looks and pressures on 3rd down. Comes the blitz.
3rd down and 8. Here they come. And there he goes. Incomplete. Anderson. Coverage on the play by Adoree Jackson. Bad hand and all.
Well, you almost knew it was going to happen. When your offense is struggling a little bit, sometimes you need a big play on defense or in the kicking game to kind of get you back in it. Certainly, defensive coordinator Dean Pease was trying to generate a negative play from his defense. Well, I'd be careful kicking the ball to Adoree Jackson.
Lachlan Edwards and Jackson back inside the 45 for Tennessee. Flag is thrown out of bounds about the 44. Hang a 4-2, so they were down there. 43-yard punt. Flag is at about the 29.
Holding. Receiving team, number 53. 10-yard penalty after the end of the kick.
It's on Tennessee.
Tennessee keeps the ball. 1st down.
There's a look at Mike Vrabel. He won 3 Super Bowl titles as a player with the Pats and caught a touchdown pass in 2 of those games. Super Bowl 38 against Carolina and Super Bowl 39 against the Eagles. All 12 of Vrabel's career receptions went for touchdowns, including those in the Super Bowl. And this season, CBS is the home of Super Bowl 53 with the people that lead our department. Chairman Sean McManus, David Burson, Harold Bryant, Steve Karasek, Ross Malloy, and many, many others that put this together for you every Sunday. And this year for Super Bowl 53, a pitch hit on 1st and 10 to Henry. Brought down on the play with no gain. A good hit there by McClendon.
Well, we talk about coaches that are hands-on. Look at this. You're not going to see this in the National Football League. Before the game, Mike Vrabel out there working with Daquan Jones on his get-off and in his hand placement. And then you watch him afterwards.
He's sore.
That 43-year-old shoulder, all the time taking on those fullbacks and those ISO blocks, a little bit sore. But that's what I love about Mike Vrabel. He walks the walk, and he's a guy that's very hands-on. The players talk about him jumping in the middle of periods of practice and giving looks and rushing the passer and helping with one-on-one drills. And I think that's how you get better as a football team. And it's great that you have a former player that's done it at the highest level.
Defensive coordinator at Houston, Romeo Crennel, was down there teaching him some of the things about coaching. And up to his feet, Darren Lee, he was the player down on that play. McClendon was also shaken up. We told you about the changes on the offensive line. We'll give them to you again. Corey Levin has come in as the center. They've taken the starting center, Ben Jones, put him at the left guard, and they have taken out Quinton Spain. Coach's decision, we're told. 2nd down and 10. It's Anderson with the block, and it was a good one by Taylor. And he cuts the corner, and then he is brought down. In on the play by Avery Williamson with the gain to the 47-yard line, a pickup of 11 and a 1st down for Tennessee.
And I think sometimes Derrick Henry can surprise you with his speed and his ability to bounce runs to the edge. Good blocking on the perimeter. You watch the receivers all getting apart and getting involved. Good effort there by Taywan Taylor.
Henry's day right there, 9 and 41. In that pistol formation, 1st and 10. Going deep again. Oh, he's got him again. That time it's hauled in. Taylor beating Claiborne. Down to the 9. Huge, big time throw, 44 yards.
Well, he had Taywan Taylor before and he misses him, and now this time he puts a little bit more air on the ball and he gives him a chance to run under it as he runs right by the cornerback Morris Claiborne.
Taylor has missed the last 3 games, left foot injury. Got it in Dallas. 1st and goal. Henry stacked up and taken down. Brandon Copeland was part of that onslaught by the defense. They throw for a 1-yard loss back to the 10-yard line.
Well, we were just talking about Taywan Taylor, the play before where Derrick Henry bounced it to the edge, and Taylor was the one that got the key block. He turns around the very next play and makes a great grab on the 9 route.
Darren Lee is back out there as a linebacker for the Jets. 2nd down and goal at the 10. Nickel secondary for the Jets. Mariota. They were going for Tajay Sharp. And a flag was thrown with the coverage by Morris Claiborne.
Well, he grabs him, and there's really no reason for it because he's going to run out of the back of the end zone. I think Claiborne just panics. He's not exactly sure where he's at on the field. He's in a good position, but he just grabs. There's no way that the way that ball was thrown in the trajectory that Sharp would have had a chance to get both feet in bounds.
Holding. Defense, number 21. 5-yard penalty, automatic, 1st down.
Well, you can't panic, and remember, Claiborne just got beat for the big play to Taylor, and now he's matched up on the taller Tajay Sharp, and just doesn't keep his hands in.
Multiple substitutions both ways here.
Good red zone teams have the ability to run the football in this part of the field.
4 in the secondary. 1st and goal at the 5. Mariota wants to run. Lewan trying to block. He gets by Lee, but Lee blew up that play. Limits him, Mariota, to a gain. In fact, a loss of 2 now, they say, back to about the 7.
Well, the center's trying to get there, but he just can't. This is a great instinctive play by Darren Lee. He comes downhill in a hurry. He knows that this is a quarterback keeper the whole way.
Lee from Chattanooga, Tennessee. 2nd down and goal.
Hey, CD, I need you.
Fake to Henry. Buck. They'll go down at the 5 again. Initiated by Jamal Adams. He got a yard and another flag. This one's in the end zone.
It's going to be defensive holding.
Again.
There was no foul on the play. 3rd down.
Down by 9. I don't think Mike Vrabel's thinking at all about 4-down territory. I think you can't get it here. You kick the field goal knowing that you still need another score.
Dion Lewis is in 3rd down and goal. Mariota. Through the hands of Jonnu Smith in the back of the end zone. 4th and goal.
I'm surprised he didn't just run it. He almost crossed the line of scrimmage. I thought for a second there he was just going to fake it and just run it in. You just watch Mariota. He just steps up in the pocket. Once he steps up in the pocket, I thought there was a chance to run the football right there. Instead, he tries to throw a fastball. high and away.
So they had it at the 5. They're settling for a 3-point try. Ryan Suckup from 24. (22-16). Jets holding on. 9.5 to go in the 4th on CBS from Nashville.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. The Mule, starring Clint Eastwood, in theaters December 14th. And by Ford, built Ford proud.
The Music Row neighborhood where Nashville is home to various recording studios, publishing houses, and radio stations. Marcus Mariota through the air, 15-24, 183. He's thrown a pick 6 and a touchdown today. McCown ready to come in, 14-25. Named the starter right before the game. No touchdowns, no picks, and 107 through the air. Jets have gotten 5 field goals. That's out of the end zone, touchback to the 25. So we have seen some upsets today, including earlier in the week when the Cowboys took care of Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints.
It's a season for upsets, isn't it? You look at what happened today. How about the Colts getting shut out down in Jacksonville? And that second one there, Kevin, the Cardinals beating up on the Packers. That's a shocker.
In Lambeau.
Randall Cobb said that Aaron Rodgers was going to have a big, big day. And something's not quite right up there in Green Bay.
Jets have lost 5 in a row, have held the lead all of today. Jet sweep. Trenton Cannon slowed by Byard and brought down on the play by Derek Morgan. He's up to the 33-yard line. He picks up 7. We take you to New York with Boomer Esiason, James Brown.
Patriots make it look so easy.
They sure do, JB. Minnesota tied it up at 10. Back on the Patriots. Josh Gordon, 24-yard touchdown pass. Patriots take a 17-10 lead. They're deep into the 4th quarter. Patriots driving again.
Just like the trio of Kevin, Rich, and Steve.
Thank you, guys. 2nd down and 2. Elijah McGuire drilled by Austin Johnson from behind, and also a big hit by Rashaan Evans. No gain on the play. Evans, we watched his progress build throughout the season. 6 starts. #1 pick out of Alabama, rookie.
You know, you look at Tennessee, they've had significant wins and statement performances from this defense this season. You know, the win over Houston in week 2 and Philly in week 4, the wins over Dallas and New England in back-to-back weeks in November. But overall, I think the thing that they've talked about is just the consistency. That's what they've been looking for, and that's what they need down the stretch.
Into the nickel, 3rd down and 2. McCown swings it out. McGuire, what a play! Malcolm Butler, loss of 3, back to the 29. Here comes the Jets punting unit.
I don't know about the design of this. I mean, this thing had no chance. You're going to watch the receivers. They start going down and in, and then there's Malcolm Butler. He's just sitting out there. He's not even blocked, and the back's got no chance.
He's coming off a concussion at the Monday night game down in Houston. Lachlan Edwards to punt.
And the punters on both teams have not punted the ball in this direction very well. There's another bad one.
2nd consecutive 3 and out. Dory Jackson says, why in the world didn't I return it? 35-yard line, 36-yard punt. Tennessee's defense with the big play. Malcolm Butler authoring that one. You're down by 6, Rich. You're at home. You're on the cusp of the playoffs. A lot riding here for first-year coach Mike Vrabel.
No time to be scared. Just keep being aggressive. They've done a good job pushing the ball, at least taking some shots down the field against this Jets secondary here in the 4th quarter.
Jets consecutive 3 and out. Play action, 1st and 10.
Again.
Going deep, and he's looking here for Taylor again. He's got him again! Chased by Roberts, brought down by Roberts. He will be at the 10. 55-yard strike to Taywan Taylor.
Well, they've got this going. They're trying to attack in this part of the field. And look how deep the safety is playing. They certainly respect the straight line speed of Taywan Taylor. That's a good throw by Marcus Mariota, giving the receiver, the speedy receiver, a chance to make a play.
First and goal.
Well, the Jets having a difficult time getting lined up.
Mariota over the head, uncatchable for Deion Lewis with the coverage on the play by Avery Williamson. Second and goal.
Isn't it amazing how, I don't want to say how much easier things get, but when you at least make a defense defend the entire field. You know, I look at both of these offenses as we studied them, Kevin, coming into today's game. It's dink and dunk, it's short, it's underneath. I learned a long time ago from Charles Woodson, a really great corner and eventually a Hall of Famer. He said, if you don't attack these and challenge these corners, you can't give them a free pass. You got to make them work and defend the entire field.
Second down and goal. Lewan the block. Hit and brought down from the other side. They got by Conklin. And it was Jordan Jenkins with a big defensive play by the Jets. Third sack by New York. And he's back to the 16.
It's a good looking rush from Jordan Jenkins at the top of your screen. He's just going to beat the right tackle, Conklin, and Marcus Mariota's got no chance. It's a good looking rush. And the Jets have had a difficult time generating a pass rush with their front four. That's why you see so much of the time they bring that fifth element. That's usually the safety, Jamal Adams.
Third and goal. The pressure, the throw, incomplete. Looking for Sharp, covered by Buster Screen. Fourth and goal. Here comes the Titan field goal unit again.
Well, he's got a chance. He gets outside the pocket. He's just not able to put enough on this throw. If he would have thrown it a little bit further, he would have given the receiver a chance to come back for it. Pretty good coverage there from Buster Screen.
Couple sacks by the Jets in the red zone today on the quarterback Marcus Mariota. Limiting them now to a three-point try with Ryan Suckup aiming from 33 yards away. It's a three-point game with 5:40 to go. The Jets led 16-0. Slowly but surely, the Titans have tried to chip away at it, carving their way back in. Three-point game, 5.5 to go. We're in the fourth.
Well, the Tennessee defense, I think, is really tightened the screws here in the second half. I mean, they have played much better. I think the communication, I think the effort, they're flying around to the football. The run defense has been terrific. You've seen a lot of pursuit and a lot of big hits from this Tennessee defense. And a lot of it starts right there with Mike Vrabel. He demands the effort, the focus, and the finish. I really enjoyed the conversation that we had with him Friday afternoon. He was talking about the run defense. He said, look, it's not that hard. Just set the edge, build a wall, and swarm to the ball and tackle. And those three things you have to have. He says, look, it doesn't take more than 30 seconds in a meeting to talk about how you stop the run. And a lot of it is about effort. Sometimes it's not the most talented players. It's the guys that really are committed and dedicated and really want it the most in critical times.
Jets have never trailed today. They've led the entire way. That is in the end zone. Touch back to the 25. It'll be a 1st and 10 for McCown. He gets his offense back up there. Coming up after the game, time permitting, the State Farm post-game show from New York. James Brown, Phil Simms, Nate Boomer, and Coach Cowher. Scores, news, and highlights all coming up next. Time permitting, from New York, the State Farm post-game show.
You know, it's hard to win in this league, Kevin, if you can't score an offensive touchdown. And the Jets haven't had one today. The only score that they've had, a touchdown, was from their defense. And they've had to settle for field goals. This would be a great time for Josh McCown and the Jets to put together a long drive to finish this one off on the road.
2 straight 3-and-outs for the Jets. 1st and 10 McCown. Underneath he goes. This is Crowell. And to about the 33, stays in bounds. Knocked off balance there by Ryan, Logan Ryan. Put him at about the 32. It's a gain of 6. Well, now they're going to respot him and say he hit at the 30. So it's a gain of 5. Timeouts, Jets 2, Titans 3. And Richie stayed in bounds that time, which he was looking to do. 2nd down and 5. Shell with the block at the right side. McCown is on the run. Tripped up on the play from behind by Jayon Brown. It is a gain of 2 by Josh McCown to the 32.
The issue with Josh McCown will never be a lack of effort. This guy is a competitor. I mean, he's in his 16th year in the league. Who knows how much more football he's got left in that body, but he's trying to find a way to get it done here late in the game.
3rd down and 2, Crowell the back. With secondary numbering 5 for Tennessee. Good block by Beachum. Herndon, did he grab the ball? It was deflected. They say no, incomplete. It took him a while to make the judgment. Incomplete. They were going across the middle and looking for Herndon.
I think it hits the ground.
I think it did too.
Yeah, you see right there it hits the ground and then it somehow bounces up into his right thigh and forearm and he's able to squeeze it, but after it hit the ground. You know, 3rd down has been a killer really for both teams, and you look at the Jets, they've got to be able to do a better job separating and winning versus tight man-to-man coverage. The receivers and tight ends have not been able to do that successfully against this Tennessee defense.
Lachlan Edwards is back there right now. 3rd consecutive 3-and-out for New York. Gets off a rocket, and Adoree Jackson's going to let it bounce and back. And into the end zone. Touchback to the 20. 67-yard punt. And now Mariota, armed with 3 timeouts, down by 3, and he's got 3:53 with which to work.
I think he's thrown the ball better here, Kevin, late in this one, and I just think that the offensive coordinator, Matt LaFleur, has opened it up a little bit, and I think that's really helped Mariota and the receivers for the Titans. They've got some speed there, but they just haven't done enough of that this season. And I think that really helps give them some breathing room sometimes on offense.
The Jets are in the nickel. It's 1st and 10 for Mariota. Quickly he goes to Taylor. Hit on the play by Adams. It is a gain of 5. He's up to the 25.
But Taywan Taylor has really done some good things here in the 4th quarter.
Succop on the sideline. He's had a couple game-winning field goals. 2nd down and 5.
Can't take a sack. Throw it away, won't hurt you.
And I think that's what he's going to do. Yep.
Sometimes, you know, you look at Mariota, Kevin, he's got a difficult time giving up on a play. I think he just trusts his feet so much, and sometimes he relies on his feet too much and his legs to kind of get himself out of trouble. I think it's a natural instinct for him. Sometimes the best play, the only play, is to throw it away and live for another down.
You can see the Titans have not converted a 3rd down all afternoon. 3rd and 5 here.
The Jets give you so many different looks. You see everyone walking around. No one's even in a 2-point stance just yet. And throws it away.
4th and 5. The defense again for the Jets. Stymie Mariota and the Titans offense trudging off. Another punting situation. Clock at 3:21.
Well, that wasn't a very good effort there, was it? I mean, just that play didn't look like it had any chance. I mean, I think Mariota realized that the receiver wasn't open. He just threw it out of bounds.
Kern gets off a high punt. Roberts wants the fair catch, drifting back to the 21, hang of 4-5. They were down there in a hurry. The punt went 54. For those of you expecting to see 60 Minutes, you're watching the NFL on CBS in the game between the Jets and Titans. Kevin Harlan, Rich Gannon, Steve Tasker in Nashville. 3-point lead right now for New York. 60 Minutes will be seen in its entirety immediately following this game, except on the West Coast.
Well, if you're Josh McCown, it's time to start thinking about 1st downs. They just put a couple first downs together and forced Tennessee to start using their timeouts.
Well, they've got 4 stoppages, Rich. They've got their 3 timeouts
and the 2-minute
warning. Crowell is in. McCown 1st and 10. Isaiah Crowell. Winners will shift and try to block.
Good looking run.
Up to the 30-yard line. Butler was there. And a hit also from Jarrell Casey on a gain of 8.
Sometimes it's just simple. Just toss the ball to the back and let them get outside. Look at the line pull. Good block here.
Leggett with a block.
Yeah, winners. Good effort. Good teams, good we talk about 4-minute offense. To have the ball at the end of the game with the lead, to be able to finish on offense. You do that by running the football.
Crowell.
Attitude runs.
Crowell today, 19 carries, 93 yards. And they have run more than they have thrown. McCown's thrown it 28 times. More running plays for New York.
Got 12 men on the field.
Defense, 12 men on the field with the snap imminent.
That's crazy.
5-yard penalty. First down.
Again, 30 runs for the Jets today, 28 passes.
Well, you look, there's a lot of bodies standing around. There's 12. And Mike Rabel talked about this on Friday with us. He says there's good plays, there's bad plays, and there's plays that get you beat. You have to be able to eliminate the latter, and that's just the mental error there, just having too many men on the field.
What a huge penalty. 1st and 10, Crowell whacked by Casey. No gain, and Casey is perhaps shaken up just a bit with a timeout taken, and Tennessee now has 2. Back to New York, CBS Studios. James Brown, Boomer Esiason.
Schedules mean nothing in the rivalry.
I'll tell you what, Derek Carr is having quite the day. 25 of 32, 235 yards, and this is his 3rd touchdown of the day as they cut into Kansas City's lead. Chiefs now 33-30 over the Raiders.
Kevin, I'm sure you know what I meant to say was records mean nothing.
Some kind of rivalry with those 2 teams, and which you can't help but think Kansas City's a little shaken perhaps about what happened to them late in the week with their star running back.
And John Gruden's always had something special up his sleeve, Kevin, for the Kansas City Chiefs. We had a lot of success there together when we were in Oakland, and I know that he's got great respect for Andy Reid, a coach that he coached with in Green Bay on Mike Holmgren's staff, but they really enjoyed getting after one another.
2 timeouts apiece. 2nd down and 10 for McCown. He's at his own 35, leading by 3. Crowell again. Tripped up but kept going. Ryan couldn't bring him down, but the extra effort gives him 5 on the play. And he moves to the 41.
Well, Logan Ryan's going to come in there, and he's going to make a big hit, but Crowell doesn't go down.
He doesn't. Crowell has 98 yards on the ground, and the Jets are nursing a 3-point lead at the 2-minute warning.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Kay Jewelers. For all the moments, for love, forever. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Tennessee Titans here at the 2-minute warning, 5 and 6. They've lost 5 of 7. They're on the outside looking in. Jets are trying to stop a 5-game losing streak. 3rd down and 5. 2-minute warning. Each team 2 timeouts. McCown, Cannon. He'll have to dance with Morgan and brought down by Jayon Brown. Big play by the 2nd-year linebacker out of UCLA. There is no gain. It is 4th down, and Tennessee is taking a timeout. 1 left.
This to me is a little bit unusual. Look at all these people down around the line of scrimmage. Why not take a shot down the middle of the field? You've lost 5 straight games. What do you got to lose? A very conservative call on 3rd and 5 from Jeremy Bates.
Nice defensive placement by Dean Pease.
It's hard to run the ball when you've got 9 defenders down around the line of scrimmage.
Jets have led the entire game at one time 16-0. Last punt by Lachlan Edwards traveled 67. That went to the end zone and was a touchback. Adoree Jackson awaits. The wind has died as the temperature drops into the 50s now. Jackson is returnable.
Oh,
and he
he's got
waved his
room.
hand. Why would you signal for a fair catch, hang of 4-1, 47-yard punt? Rich, that was returnable.
I don't know what he's thinking, Kevin. I don't know if he doesn't look and see how much space he's got, but boy, he's got 15 or 20 yards. I mean, there's no one even on the screen.
Wow.
That is unusual.
Do you think he lost where he was? You think he looked back?
I have no idea.
I don't either.
And he was mad at the one before that he fair caught it.
Tennessee one timeout, down by 3.
That was a big mistake. Look where they're starting this drive.
First down and 10. Flag thrown as you see. Chased in the play by Frankie Louvu. And forced out of bounds downfield by Darren Lee. He picks up 11 on the fly. He gets to the 25.
Boy, Conklin's having a rough day, Kevin.
He had a rough night on Monday in Houston.
On Monday night, he sure did against J.J. Watt. And tonight, he's having a rough night as well. I think he's going to get called for the hold on Jordan Jenkins.
There are two flags
on the play, one by each team. Holding, defense, number 21. Holding, offense, number 78. These fouls all set.
Caught a break.
Replay, first down.
They lose some time, though. 1:38 on the clock. One Tennessee timeout. The Jets are in the nickel. And it's 1st and 10 for Tennessee. Dion Lewis was in the backfield, offers a block, and he goes to the side, and it's incomplete. He was looking for Tajay Sharp. Coverage across the way by Perry Nickerson, who is in. Suckup getting ready. Second down and 10. Oop. Check the cleats. Moves up nicely. Pocket crumbling. Hit on the play. Flag down. Leonard Williams jumped on him. Anderson assisted. Right now it's back to about the 13-yard line. 4th sack.
It's going to be another holding call.
Let's see what that flag says.
This one might be on Klein, the right guard.
Illegal use of hands. Defense, number 48.
Oh. Jenkins
5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
with an automatic first down, but 11 more seconds now off the clock. They're down to 1:27.
I think he gets his right hand under the face mask of the right tackle, Conklin.
Jets have 10 penalties this afternoon into this early evening, and that is a season high. 1st and 10. Still the nickel. And still Dion Lewis in the backfield at the side and the gun of Mariota. He's 17 of 31. He escapes and he's got room to roam. Flag again. Cuts, breaks tackles, fumbles the ball. It's at the 45 with a 26-yard swerving run by Marcus Mariota. The Titans have recaptured it.
Well, it was a big hit by Louvu. He comes in there. I don't think Marcus Mariota ever feels him, and he's the one that gets the big hit and jars the ball loose.
Frankie Louvu has had a couple big plays this afternoon.
During the play, personal foul, face mask, defense, number 22. 15-yard penalty from the end of the play.
Wow.
Tennessee keeps the ball.
Tremaine Johnson,
First down.
who had the pick 6 early in the game.
He just grabs the face mask. He lets go. Wow, what a big penalty. Now, Kevin, they're nearing field goal range, and they still have a minute and 11 and a timeout. Still plenty of opportunities to take a shot at the end zone.
Ryan Suckup continues the warm-up. The 10-year veteran is career-long 54. You can see the distance to the target is 3 yards. That was a huge penalty on the Jets.
Mariota's got to be smart here, Kevin. He cannot take a sack. If it's not there on first down, just throw the ball away.
Mariota 1st and 10.
Wow.
Caught across the middle. Anthony Firkser brought down by Robinson. 24-yard catch and run. They've got the ball at the 14. Quickly huddling. Clock continues to tick. Tennessee with the timeout. 1st down, 10 to go. Mariota. He's got Tajae Sharpe with the coverage by screen and a gain of 4 to the 11. And the clock is stopped at 48 seconds.
Well, how about this whole drive is because of Mariota pulling the ball down, not only running for a big play, but also the 15-yard penalty that got tacked onto the end of it with the face mask hold from Tremaine Johnson.
2nd down and 6. Tennessee with the timeout. Hit and throws it away. Boy, there was heavy pressure that time, and Leonard Williams was on his ankle and trying to tear him down. Incomplete pass. 3rd and 6.
When you look at Leonard Williams, just working in tandem on that right side with Jenkins, and he's able to get the legs of Mariota, and Mariota does the smart thing and throws it away. Boy, a big 3rd down here. They don't get it, they'll have to kick the field goal, but
3rd down and 6. Mariota, it's caught! Davis! Touchdown! And the Titans have taken their first lead today.
good look in protection, and that's really where it starts for Mariota. And a terrific throw to Corey Davis. Just is able to come right back to the football, find a little hole in that coverage, and just fit it into the end zone.
Corey Davis is the 5th rated third down receiver. That was a third down pass. Their first third down conversion this afternoon. It goes for 6. The extra point there. And the Titans have taken a lead. Tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes and unbelievable new video. Stories from California's megafires, plus a moving tribute to President George H.W. Bush. Followed by country sensation Garth Brooks live at Notre Dame. And NCIS Los Angeles tonight, only CBS.
Boy, in critical situations, you think about players and not plays, just trying to find a way to get the football to your leading receiver, Corey Davis, who makes a great catch and quick turn to the end zone. What a drive.
Yes.
With the season on the line. That was impressive.
That expression of Leonard Williams says it all.
Well, they played hard, Kevin. They just settled for way too many field goals offensively. They couldn't score a touchdown. And the momentum certainly switched over to the Titans in the second half. I thought they cranked things up and played better defensively, and then that last drive, Marcus Mariota probably makes the play of the season for them, pulling the ball down and running for a huge first down.
Jets have 2 timeouts.
Taylor Lewan's going to go get himself a 6-pack of Ham's beer tonight and celebrate.
McGuire in the backfield. 5 in the secondary. It's a 1st and 10. McCown, and he throws with a nice twirling catch right there to the 45-yard line. Byard with the stop, Herndon with the catch. It is a 20-yard reception. And again, one of those timeouts used. Now the Jets down to 1 timeout. 20-yard pickup by the emerging Chris Herndon.
You got to think about getting half of it, or getting 20, 25 yards, getting yourself down there far enough where Josh McCown's got a couple opportunities to throw the ball into the end zone.
$16-0 was the early score. The Jets were shutting out Tennessee. A pick 6 by Tremaine Johnson. Field goals of 54, 34, and 43. They blocked a punt. They blocked a point after. The Jets were doing everything right. And slowly but surely, Tennessee has crawled back in, taking their first lead moments ago. 1st and 10 from the 45. McCown deep, picked off by Malcolm Butler. And that'll be all she wrote to Nashville.
Well, you just see how soft the coverage is, and you can't fault Josh McCown. He's just trying to push the ball down the field. Problem is, it's such a tight window between the linebackers, the safety, and the waiting corner in Malcolm Butler, and he just,
after the play was over,
he just goes up in high points this one.
Tennessee, number 55, for taking off his helmet. Half a distance through the goal.
For the Tennessee Titans, it's their first takeaway in the last 4 games, going back to Week 9 against the Dallas Cowboys on a Monday night in Texas. Unsportsmanlike conduct after the play, they move it back to the 11. They were going for Herndon, and Malcolm Butler comes up with his 2nd interception of the season. The 2-time Super Bowl champion and a 2-time Pro Bowler coming up with a huge play. Now the Jets with a timeout. 21 seconds to go. And that is it. What a comeback by the Tennessee Titans. 13 unanswered 4th quarter points. And they are very much alive in the AFC wild card playoff hunt. And the Jets lose their 6th in a row and drop to 3-9. Titans go to 6-6, and they stop a 2-game losing streak. Tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes and the moving tribute to George H.W. Bush, followed by Garth Brooks live at Notre Dame and NCIS Los Angeles. For Rich Gannon and Steve Tasker, Kevin Harlan saying so long from Nashville. You've been watching the NFL on CBS, your home for Super Bowl 53.